Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Drake Warden Ranger in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod that's made by Sumradagnoth here as part of their 5e Ranger subclasses combined. I was going to cover this when it dropped on console, but it didn't drop yet, so I'm just going to cover the build here, and I'll likely cover it in the future because there are many ways that you can take this build. Now, it took a whole team to be able to put this together, so Halo Master 41, Incognito Burrito, Celeste, the Cerulean Witch, and Ninjoma have helped out with this because there's a lot of unique stuff here that you won't see in any other mods. This is a wingless dragon, which is going to level up and grow alongside you. Now, the thing is, the dragon models that are in the game are very large. Have you seen them? So this is downscaling them to a smaller size. So there are some things to keep in mind. And the dragons will potentially flap their wings if you don't start a new playthrough whenever you go to do this. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. You may have to start a new playthrough, and I'd highly recommend doing that for this mod. All right, so I will be showing this off at level 20, but you can also follow along at level 12. Our favorite enemy, I would recommend grabbing Ranger Knight. Heavy armor is really nice at the early game. And also, we are actually going to get Wasteland Wanderer Fire. If I'm going to use the Fire Dragon for this build, I'll likely cover the others in the future as I get more experience with them, but Fire is really fun. So you can also go with Beast Tamer if you want to get the Find Familiar, which I think actually plays nice with this. So Poison or Beast Tamer, we're going to leave Fire alone. And I like this stat spread here of 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, and 16 Wisdom. We're likely going to be wearing medium armor most of the time, but Dexterity will help out with our ranged attacks, and there's a lot of finesse weapons that we can also use. And at level 2, we are going to get ourselves spell choices. I would recommend Hunter's Mark, as this is really good to help up with your dragon applying extra damage. And you can also go with Ensnaring Strike or Hail of Thorns if you prefer them. Longstrider is another nice ability to go with. We will get Speak with Animals from the subclass, so I would not recommend taking that. And I think for this build, we'll take Hail of Thorns. We do get a fighting style here, and I like defense, sort of +1 to our armor class, although you can go with archery if you want to focus more on ranged weapon attacks, maybe even take sharpshooter, and 2-weapon fighting if we want to use the dual weapons. I just think defense is the most versatile for all types of builds, and a +1 armor class is always a nice thing to get. Level 3, we get to take the subclass, Drake Warden. This gives us our Drake Companion, and this is really cool because it starts off as a little dragon, so you summon a bonded dragon. We get to choose his Draconic Essence. And at later levels, this will give us elemental damage resistance. We also get the Thaumaturgy cantrip here, and Speak with Animals, as Speak with Draconic Languages is not part of Baldur's Gate 3. So there are some adaptations, as you can't really adapt everything from tabletop into Baldur's Gate 3. And also one thing I do want to quickly mention, if you're using the mod.io version of this mod, the Drake won't share your initiative order, but if you're using the Nexus mods version, it'll actually match its initiative. This can be a little bit tricky if you're using alerts, because then you won't be acting alongside your dragon if you're playing on console in the future, or if you're using this on the mod.io version. But with this, we also get to take another spell. I like Fog Cloud. This can kind of be a nice crowd control spell, or Longstrider if you don't have someone on your team that is able to cast that. And we'll continue on here because we get some more subclass features later on. And here's the baby dragon. Really cool. They did a great job because normally the dragons have wings, and this is a dragon without wings, and it looks very natural. So yeah, this is the little guy. He does have just a dodge action and a bite. He's not going to do a lot of damage here, but he's just along for the vibes. And something cool about this is every time that you're leveling up, it's actually going to resummon it and power it up. This is also necessary because it does have some issues with its animations and things, so it will resummon from time to time. This just to ensure that it is working properly. So if you see that happening, don't stress out. It's part of the mod. Now, once we get to level 4, we can take our first feat. As mentioned, alert becomes tricky because we're always going to have a very high initiative, and our dragon probably won't be following along with us. A dexterity increase can be a bit more mild to give us better ranged weapon attacks and other armor class initiative. You can also go with the sharpshooter here if you want to increase our ranged weapon attack damage. This is going to be kind of fun. I like to go this route occasionally, but Savage Attacker can be a nice route to go if you want to focus on melee attacks, because a ranger doesn't have to be a bow attacker. It's kind of how you want to formulate obviously they're going to have more bow focused attacks, but you don't have to take those. I do like an ability score improvement just at the first level here, because it's nice just to get a little bit more armor class, survivability, and attack rolls. And we get our extra attack here at level 5, and we get to take some of the more powerful spells from the ranger with things like Spike Growth, which are great for crowd control, Silence to shut down spellcasters. My personal favorite is Pass Without Trace. Now, once you get to higher levels, you can have a bard on your team, or any other type of caster that can get greater invisibility. You can apply Pass Without Trace yourself, +10 to stealth. They can put greater invisibility on you, and then you can hang out in darkness or something like that and basically be unseen. But if you don't like that style of play, Spike Growth is another great spell. We'll then continue on to our next level here. Once we get to level 7, we do get another ability for our subclass. So our next level, Bounty Hunter could be okay. We didn't take our Ensnaring Strike, but we can take it now if you really want to. It kind of works because you can pin them down and get your dragon to attack them. Natural Explorer, we're going to go with Poison there, as poison damage is quite common, and we'll also get a resistance to our elemental damage at level 7 here with the Bond of Fang and Scale. So our Drake is now medium size and it can fly. Magic Fang, so our Dragon's Fang attacks are going to deal an additional 1d6 of the chosen element. So this is going to be the fire, obviously, for this one. Whatever you go to choose is going to add that damage type. So you can be strategic against certain encounters. When your Drake is summoned, you also get resistance to that elemental damage choice too. So again, you can be very synergetic. It's kind of similar to the Draconic Sorcerer at level 6. Now we also get the Drake mount. So if you're medium size or smaller and within 3 meters of your bonded Drake, you ignore the effects of difficult terrain in most surfaces. So you're basically just flying around with your Drake, somewhat similar to the purple Dragon Knight that Sumradagnoth also made, which you do have a purple dragon. It's really cool. It's a fighter subclass with 3 attacks. That's aside the point. We'll take Pass Without Trace here or Ensnaring Strike if you want to go with that. I just like the stealth style play. The Ranger doesn't have much, so you got to give them what they got. That's really it. We now get Difficult Terrain will no longer slow us down at Land Stride. This is different from what we just got because when we're close to our dragon, we're not affected by Difficult Terrain. This just doesn't make it slow us down. It doesn't prevent us from getting slips and things like that. Now at this point, I think it's good. Damage is really nice. Sharpshooter is my personal preference here. And then we can also later take Crossbow Expert and do some like close range, kind of crazy stuff. Your personal preference here, though, you can go with Ability Score Improvement, Alert, or Savage Attacker. And even something like the Sentinel feat can be kind of nice for extra damage on reactions there. Or Polar Master if you want to go for like a Dragoon style playthrough. I'm going to go with Sharpshooter to really enhance our ranged attacks and have our Dragon go around. Level 9 gives us our level 3 spells here with Lightning Arrow and Conjure Barrage. Conjure Barrage is kind of cool because you can use your melee weapon, and some weapons will actually apply all their abilities to multiple enemies at a time. So Conjure Barrage, kind of an underrated spell sometimes. Not amazing, like the Ranger doesn't really have a whole lot, but it's something. Our next favorite enemy doesn't matter a whole lot. We either get Arcana or Religion proficiency, so you can take which one you want there. Neither are really that effective. We'll then take Wasteland Wanderer Cold. You could also get the proficiency in Sleight of Hand if you wanted to get increased Sleight of Hand skill, but yeah, we'll go with the Wasteland Wanderer Cold because we're going to have fire damage resistance, but you can also hypothetically take fire damage resistance, use the Lightning Dragon. That's probably the best way to do it. Level 11 gives us a fun ability. We get Drake's Breath, so you can exhale a cone of damaging Draconic Breath. Once you or your Drake has used this ability, it cannot be used again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of the 3rd level or higher. So this is good if you're doing a level 20 mod, but it may be costly if you're using just level 12. I like that kind of strategy because it makes you think about what options you want to use. Lightning Arrow is kind of a similar spell for level 3 spell slot, but yeah, it's between the Dragon Breath. I would actually probably not use that. And I'm going to take Ensnaring Strike at this level because we didn't take it yet. Lightning Arrow is okay at best, but doesn't fit the theming of our build. You can still take it if you want. I'm not going to tell you you can't. It's your personal preferences. Level 12 is our final level if we're sticking at level 12. I'm going to go to level 20, though. Alerts is a nice feat. Even though our Drake won't share our initiative if you're not using the Nexus Mods version, this is still a really good feat because if you can go first, you can sometimes free up your Drake in the initiative order and have them go next, maybe pick off another enemy and then have someone else go next. For our next level spell at 13, I guess we can now take Lightning Arrow or Plant Growth if you want. Since we're going to have an abundance of spell slots, we don't have to worry too much. You can then take your call there. We don't have proficiency in Religion. We'll take that one there. And now level 15 gives us subclass features as well. So we get Reflective Resistance. So this lets our Drake actually block damage. It uses reaction to give yourself or Drake resistance to that instance of damage. So if you're close to each other, you're going to keep each other safe. And 9 meters is actually quite large. 3 meters is even good for the other ability there. And we get improved Drake mounts. If your size medium or smaller, within those 3 meters, you ignore difficult terrain in most surfaces, even if your Drake is hovering and has flown during its last turn. And the Drake can take the skies and carry you short distances. You also get the Perfected Bond, which lets your Drake get even larger now, and its Empowered Bite becomes an additional 1d6. So it's getting the 2d6 total of elemental damage, and your proficiency bonus will tell you how many times you can use your Reflective Resistance. We'll also take Plant Growth here. I like this spell. It's difficult terrain without a concentration. Don't need to say too much more. It's pretty effective. Level 16 gives us another feat. We could go with a dex increase here. I like the Sharpshooter into Crossbow Expert. But if you took Savage Attacker, you could then take Great Weapon Master. That's going to be good for just maximizing your personal damage. And that's kind of the way we have to build around if you want the Ranger to be powerful, because Paladins exist. And for a half caster, the Ranger doesn't really have a whole lot, but it does have Crossbow Expert, Sharpshooter, and the shenanigans that come from ranged weapon attacks in Baldur's Gate 3, making them actually pretty strong. Level 17 gives us another increase to our reflective resistance. Our proficiency bonus increases. We can then take another spell, silence, I guess. We're running out of good spells to select because the ranger doesn't have a whole lot going for them. We'll continue in level. We'll take our last feat here. I always like, whenever we're going to level 20, the tough feat. It's going to be the best value, 40 extra health, pretty crazy. Health is a resource, use it. You can even drop your armor class if you need your other characters to have a higher armor class. And for our last one, good barrier, protection from energy. It's your call here. Nothing really super important, even lesser restoration. And level 20, you just get some more health. And our goodest boy dragon and Scratch are hanging out. So we got our large and in charge dragon here. And you can, at any time, if you want to, swap out your Drake here. You can go right ahead and do that. So you're not bound to just having one type. I guess I'm summoning the same elemental dragon, but I just want to showcase that. Now, for gear, I am using the Enchanted Threads outfit here by Aerodea Nexus Mod, so I just want to point that out. But I will show off base game equipment here for the build, and there's actually a lot of really good options. I think there's 3 main ways we can build around that I'll briefly touch on. So the first way I want to touch on is going with the ballast armor. If you're on an evil playthrough, you can use sharpshooter and arrow of many targets. If you got someone with hold person, you're going to crit on the first target. Arrow of many targets will spread crits around to everybody, and they're going to be doubled in damage. And sharpshooter does add the plus 20 now to every single arrow at close range. So yeah, it becomes insane. That is going to be the nuke high damage version. You can go armor persistence if you want more damage or more armor class. I also like the armor of agility. This is just a good one that's going to give you the highest possible armor class without much thinking. So that's what I'm going with. Now, I guess the main 2 choices is either to go all in on a fire damage build and go thematic. My personal preference is the debuff build, because the ranger doesn't really have something crazy going for it like the paladin does, but we can do some fun stuff ourselves. If we're illuminated, we can use the Callous Glow Ring. Now, there's kind of a funny combination here, light and darkness. So using the Callous Glow Ring, but I also have the Shadow Cloaked Ring. So what we can do is use Arrow of Darkness alongside the Steel Watcher helmet, create our own pockets of safety, and then we can go around using the Callous Glow Ring, which gives us 2 points of radiant damage on our attacks. Swap off the Helldust gloves for the Luminous gloves. And if you want to go all in on it, you could use the Luminous armor as well, as that'll create a bunch of extra explosions. We don't get radiant damage unless we're in sunlight. So when you start your turn, you're going to be in your darkness. You'll step out, shoot your arrows, and then step back in. It is kind of funny, and then you can have your dragon nearby for anything else, and the dragon can attack there. So it's if you want to go that route. We don't have to use darkness as well. It's just a thought. We can also just completely go all in on the radiating orb and go debuff route. But darkness is another way to really enhance this, because you get advantage on your attack rolls at close range, and then you get the sharpshooter. It becomes crazy. There's also the Coruscation Ring, which would apply to some of our other spells here, but I like going with the boosted damage. Is nice, but I'll throw this on just because we can go all in on the debuff route, which is kind of a funny way to play it. And since we're going to be applying condition, we can put on the Boots of Storm and Clamor, which will then apply reverberation. Reverberation can be really nice because this can end up knocking enemies prone, and then that skips their turn. The Steel Watcher helmet is an Act 3 item, so if you wanted something a little bit earlier, the Haste helmet's good to give yourself increased movement speed. And if you want to go all in on the Rador build, Holy Lance Helm, whenever an attacker misses you, you make them take radiant damage. So actually, I might go all in on not using darkness, and I'll use the Luminous build because it's kind of funny. I always think of radiating orbs and the glowing orbs when I think fire builds. I think because there's no good, heat sucks in this game. I was thinking of building around heat, but there's no point. It's just not great. We could go with Mark Hesker in the offhand and give ourselves a little bit extra fire damage, but it's really not worth it. The Halberd of Vigilance can be a fun one too if you just want to go for something like that, but I like personally just going with a debuff weapon from Act 1, Fowler Louvre. That's always going to be a good choice because it's a finesse weapon, and the Shrieking Song or Singing Song can benefit your entire team. Knifey Thunder Mountain King, another really good one, giving us increased critical hit, and Shadow Blade is also really nice on this blade. Flail of the Ages is another one we could potentially use. It is thematic as it's the Elemental Age Fire, but again, it's not really that good. So I'll go with the Knifey Thunder Mountain King, Viconia's Walking Fortress, and we're going to use the Fire Crossbow with the Hellfire Hand Crossbow, which will inflict burning whenever we hit them while hiding, and it gives a Scorching Ray, and then the Fire Stoker, whenever we inflict burning, we can then get additional piercing damage. I think this is going to be the most thematic for a fire dragon because we got the debuffs with the radiant damage, and radiant is kind of a burning damage. And then we get the fire from our crossbow, and you could swap these off and put on the Helldust gloves for that extra fire damage. It's another option, or use the Luminous armor and kind of swap that around. I actually really like the Luminous armor, so I'm going to put that on too for extra radiant support. Now, if you have a cleric with Hero's Feast and Aid at levels just 12, it's going to get the Drake's health up to 142 of it at 137 here. So you can make it a little bit more survivable. I won't do the pass without trace shenanigans in this video, but yeah, greater invisibility plus this, and then darkness, you basically are not getting hit once in combat. Now, I was going to explain how if the Drake was like next in the initiative order, you can hunt out the next target. I'm going to have to take out a lot of targets to be able to free up my Drake in the list, but if you're using the Nexus mods version, this is not going to be an issue for you. Now, I like to set up debuffs right at the start here. We do have our Conjure Barrage here, which if we're using a ranged weapon, we can actually do a lot of damage with it, and it's going to give a good amount of debuffs onto enemies. So if we can line that up, we're going to hit 3 targets here. This is one of the Ranger's few good okay abilities. We got Radiating Orbs off on 3 targets though, so that was pretty nice. Now, I personally prefer the good old-fashioned arrow of many targets, because this is just going to be crazy damage, and if you get a free crit on it, it's going to crit everybody. And then we also get our Infused Strike Fire here. So this arrow is mid-air right now as we speak. It's about to hit this target. I want to infuse it with fire. Boom, and it bounced around. It applied 4 stacks of Radiating Orbs, 2 stacks of Reverberation. Pretty solid. And there's more enemies that just spawned in over here, so I'm going to try and debuff them a bit too. Effectively, when you apply Radiating Orbs, it's going to protect your dragon, because they are now going to have a -6 to hitting him. It's really nice. So this is like the ultimate support for our Drake as well. And then we also have Hunter's Mark to set up our Drake for extra damage as well, or we can just do a simple offhand attack because, yeah, sometimes, I guess I'm in the shade right now. I should have stepped right here to get lit up. And here we have the Reflective Resistance, so you can give yourself or Drake the resistance to incoming damage since we're within the 9 meters of each other. This does use your reaction, so you have to think about it strategically. Because that's going to be a reaction that you just cannot use. He now took 4 damage instead. Also, Volley in Act 3 is just going to completely shred him if he is standing really close to you. So you'll get to a strategic point where you know where to have your dragon standing. I didn't get to control the dragon, but one thing to also keep in mind is that the dragon here is a pretty large character, so it does sometimes struggle with moving in certain areas, so that's something to keep in mind. I just got hit with Command Grovel. That's exactly what I was talking about. And our poor dragon skipped its turn as it just got hit with Command. It was a hunter. We need to get rid of those targets that are threatening our dragon. That's why Hunter's Mark is nice, because you can apply it to whatever your threat is, and then you're going to get additional damage off on them, and you can then reapply it on your next turn. I always recommend having arrows of humanoid slaying, just because humanoids can be annoying at times. This was nice because I was able to take them out, and we got the Infused Strike. I may as well just use it for the extra fire damage just to send the message. But I applied 10 stacks Radiating Orbs on that target. That's actually pretty crazy. So yeah, sometimes the damage riders will stack up crazy amounts. So they now have a -10 to their attack rolls. So they aren't going to be hitting anybody anytime soon. I also need to deal with those that are threatening Shadowheart. So I'm just going to go, oh, this is the best thing about Arrow of Many Targets. That was free crits on 4 people. So yeah, Arrow of Many Targets kind of are broken, but the Ranger doesn't have smites. It doesn't have anything going for it. We need to use what we can, and this gives the -10 to attack rolls. I wanted to keep my dragon safe, so yeah, that's what we went with there. Now, there's no other major threats, so we can then end off our turn. I guess I'll just shoot at this target here and potentially take them out. The Reverberation stacks will sometimes be just enough to push them over the edge of damage. And perfect, we got a critical miss. They have a -10 to their attack rolls. Now, every time they attack, they do lose 2 stacks of that, so you do have to be kind of thinking about it. I just used my reaction again there, but I don't have to worry about counterspell. That's a good time to use your reflective reduction of damage there. But yeah, the dragon will hopefully get to take a turn now. Now, the nice thing is our Drake has a 20 armor class, so it's not getting hit often by enemies, which is great. And it's got its Drake Breath. Now, its bite attack is going to do a 1d6 plus 6, and then a 2d6 of fire damage, which is good, but its Drake Breath here will do a 10d6 of fire, or whatever elemental damage type. Honestly, it's probably best to use lightning and cold and use water, but this is a fire dragon, so we're going to use Fire Breath. Now, I'll proc the opportunity attack because he got, yeah, Radiating Orbs. He ain't hitting our 20 armor class. And then we're going to come over here and set up our Drake Breath. Now, Sumradagnoth did such a good job of getting the animations there to work on the Drake. So, boom, Fire Breath. Super cool. We broke a concentration. We didn't finish anybody off, but that's not what the Drake's needed for. Now I guess he's technically on our initiative order, kind of, a little bit. But what we want to do is, now that we have a bunch of enemies that are weak, if you have Cull the Weak, this is perfect. If you don't have Illithid abilities, yeah. But you see there, we took out 1 target. I don't have to use the fire damage. That target got taken out. Don't need to use that. And I love that reaction bouncing between the 2 arrows. It looks really cool that way. I guess, yeah, as an archer, I do want to mention that the Arrows of Darkness, if I went that route, is really nice because you just shoot your arrows, you run over to it. That's your safety pocket. You're pretty much set right there. And I guess just to finish off, we'll just go with a stab attack against this one to finish them off. Infuse Strike Fire. Boom. That is the Drake Warden in Baldur's Gate 3. Love that this class is now available. Let me know your thoughts. Shout out to Sumradagnoth for getting this done. And I'll be covering this again probably in the future because I love this subclass and all the different elemental dragon choices. So yeah, that was a Fire Radiant version of this. And stay tuned for future ones, maybe lightning charges or even encrusted with frost. But let me know what you'd like to see next. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed, and we'll see you all in the next one.